We are live. Yes, yet another beautiful Sunday evening, and good evening to everyone. And when you're going to be watching this, it may not be evening, so hello to you. And this is yet another book review for Shining in Your Spotlight. I'm not sure if you're able to see it because of the background, but yeah, we're reviewing this lovely, beautiful, amazing, spirit filled, inspired book. And today we're on chapter 14, I guess. We're in chapter 14. And this is basically talking about growth, right? Stretching beyond your limits, because that's where everything else you need in life happens. It's the journey beyond your comfort zone that leads you to fulfillment of your purpose. So last week we started this lovely chapter. I'm sure if you've been following, we had like a quote in the beginning, and it basically says, if you're not willing to risk the usual, you will settle for the ordinary. So before I continue, let me just acknowledge my lovely sister right here. Sonia, you're welcome once again. Thanks
Thank
for joining us.
you.
Yes, so we're going to continue the conversation for chapter 14. And basically, let me read that again. If you're not willing to risk the usual, you will settle for the ordinary. And what is ordinary? Ordinary is something that, well, maybe it may feel comfortable, but you yourself know where the shoe pinches, right? You know exactly where the pain points are. So if you want to grow beyond your pain points in any aspect of your life, then you have to go beyond what you usually or would regularly do. There are many examples that come to mind. If you have to work out, for example, it's never comfortable, it's never easy, but you have to put in that work. If not, guess what? You're not going to lose that fat that you want to lose. You're not going to have that muscle that you think you should have for your later years. You're not even going to be physically fit the way you ought to. That's just a rough, typical example. And we can apply this in so many things. When it comes to discipline, right? You're not going to be able to do so much, live your best life, if you do not stretch beyond your limits. And that limit is not something that breaks you. It may look like, something that is daunting and difficult, but absolutely not. It's all in the mindset. And we're going to be discussing a little bit about mindset issues when it comes to this today. So let me go start as an opening, where I said, in essence, the journey to success is a dynamic interplay of choice and decision, right? So for you to make those choices, yes, there has to be some mindset matters there, right? To make those decisions, to make those calls, to be able to grow and stretch, you have to know for a fact that you need a change. You have to know that you need to grow, and then apply whatever it is that you need to make that change. So yeah, Sonia, let me just leave that to you for
Yeah, I love the fact that, okay, guys, hi.
now.
So, just from the last week's discussion, and I'm so glad you touched a little bit about what we talked about last week.
Mhm.
Now, moving over to the journey of success, being the fact that you need to recognize that you need a change. Sometimes we say if you don't change anything, everything remains the same.
Mhm.
Okay. And most times, the first step is actually you realizing I need to change something about me. It might
Yeah.
be a weight loss journey you want to go on, it might be
Mhm.
a change of career, it might be a shift on the way you want to parent. A lot of things in our lives, and no wonder, we always say change is a constant thing. But before the change, there is
Mhm.
an actual point where you realize what change you
Yeah.
really desire.
Exactly.
All right.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
when you're in a job and you're being paid, let's say $20 per hour, and you
Mhm.
want a job that you want to be paid $40 per hour. You
Mhm.
need to work your way to actually achieve it. It's
Yeah.
not about the number of experience, it's also comes with, oh, what qualities do you have? Apart from
Mhm.
qualities, what certifications do you have to actually move you to that income bracket? Okay. So
Exactly. Yeah.
recognizing you need a change comes with you having the attitude, you having the resolution to work towards that change. Do
Yeah.
something to send it to that change. Okay.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about here, being a dynamic interplay of choice and decisions. Because
Mhm.
you have to first say, I deserve to earn a $50 per hour. And
Mhm.
therefore, I need to get certifications for that. I need to get experience that will align me to that. And
Yeah.
then you walk in your pathway to
Yeah.
achieve that goal and the
Yeah.
success you deserve.
Yeah. So you know what comes to mind? Sometimes we know that we need to change, right? We know we need to make this change, but there's no urgency.
Yeah.
Because let me use the word, because there is no urgency to change, we tend to relax, like keep
Yeah.
being that spot. And that is very bad because as long as you're not growing, I think we said this last week, if you're not growing, you're definitely declining. You know what I mean,
Mhm.
right? So let's be conscious of the fact that we need to grow. You know, there was something that was said in church today that really struck me. It was more about the fact that every living being, I mean, anything that is living grows, right?
Mhm.
So that's the same way I would attribute it to every aspect of my life should be growing.
Yeah.
My mindset should be continually shifting, should be continually increasing, expanding in knowledge. My network should continually be, I mean, it doesn't have to be exponential, you know what I mean, right? But my network should continually be shifting, increasing. My net worth should
Mhm.
continue to increase and shift. You know, I'm just mentioning a few of the aspects of what I think in our lives as
Good.
human beings,
Yeah.
we need to continue to grow. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's just a transition, like you said, networking becomes a bridge that connects preparation with opportunity,
Yes.
and the value you offer to the world is a testament to the value you have cultivated within yourself.
That's
This
because
is,
sometimes it's people that will help you find the fact that
yes,
yeah.
yes.
You can take that.
Even with you listening to, what you learned from church, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
are in an environment where you hear people.
yeah.
No man is an island, right? For me, this week has been like more like me and the Holy Spirit talking about, like when people say, "Oh, I don't need to have friends,"
Mm,
from the past betrayal, you don't need to be in a very. We all need each other to thrive.
yes.
Networking will give you that opportunity to actually realize and learn from each other.
Mm,
Like I always share with like you and all that. Like I know a lot of things I've learned from you, not just from the book, from other things, aspect of life.
yeah.
And like we talked about in previous chapters, you want to be in an environment where growth is really eminent, okay? Not the
Mm,
environment that you depreciate from that, but environment where you will grow. Because as
yes.
a person, we always say money might not be the factor, but a lot of times, number one, personality growth, you
Mm-hmm,
need that in your life. Because when you cultivate the habit of learning how to place value in yourself and in other things, you're
mm-hmm,
actually alluding yourself towards monetizing those values, okay,
yeah,
which makes you a better person. And you feel that fulfillment,
yeah,
this is actually breaking from that limitations,
yeah,
within our mind. So the
yeah,
first step is actually unlocking those boundless possibilities that lie ahead. And
yeah,
it comes with us being in each other's environment, being in each other's space, asking questions.
yeah,
There's something you need, ask questions. If you don't have anyone to answer you, this day, ChatGPT is your best friend, but
yeah,
always constantly be willing to grow and learn.
yeah,
Okay, the more
yeah.
you learn, the more value you place on yourself, the more importance you also place on yourself, the more
Mm-hmm,
we need you. Okay,
yeah,
because you cannot give what you don't have. All
yeah.
right,
Sometimes you do not even see your own blind spot. Somebody else may see it. That's
yeah.
why the world was created to be a social world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning that part. Like yesterday, I literally wrote down some things that I learned yesterday. I was making assumptions of some things, which later I realized was not so. And I wouldn't have known that if I didn't speak to the person I spoke to, right?
Yeah,
So, I mean, I had to write that down. Like, this is a note to yourself to not make assumptions the way you do. So
yeah,
we all are growing and learning, and you cannot be your best self just, in your own comfort zone, in your
yeah.
own space. It has to expand beyond you.
Yeah, when you talk about being confined in our own mind, sometimes we are we're actually guilty of that.
Mm-hmm.
We always think that, oh, our mind tells you whatever and what else. And the beautiful part about life is honestly being willing to take feedbacks from
Mm,
people, being open to learn will
mm,
set you apart for a greater, tomorrow. Because
mm-hmm.
like I always share with you, like I learn from even my children, I learn from it, everything I learn from it. Because if
Mm,
you're not willing to sit down and pay attention to these things, you're going to miss the details.
yeah.
Because sometimes the Holy Spirit will speak to you through these tiny things. you know you have
Mm,
questions in your mind, he
yeah.
might talk to you through the environment, through people you are around. All
Yeah.
right, and I
Yeah.
love the blind spot you mentioned. All of
Yeah.
us sometimes we miss that point. We
Mm,
miss it, and until someone points it out to you, that
yeah.
is when you know that thing actually exists.
Exactly.
That's when you know. So be willing for critique, be willing to, get people tell you things, be willing to learn and be in that environment. And that is what we call the timeless wisdom. It doesn't come from just your mind. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And just to add to it, it's never, I mean, like you said, even feedback sometimes is not even comfortable. So growth is
Yeah.
never comfortable in any
Yeah.
sense, right? Imagine
Yeah.
when you were telling us of how maybe when you started your business, how you had to wake up to just put in an hour just to work on your business
Yeah.
to be able to meet up, right? Growth is never comfortable at any in any sense, right? So let's just have that at the back of our minds and use that as a leverage to be toughened to grow, right? Like don't chicken out when things are tough, when the going
Yeah.
gets tough, I would say. Yeah. All right. So I also, I mean, I think we read this example last week where we talked about the fact that the race is not is not to the swiftest, right? This just means like success is not just about your abilities. I think you just mentioned that. So
Yeah.
it's more about, I think it all boils down to the mindset. I think it starts from there. Once you have the right mindset, you'll be able to grow as much as possible. So be prepared to embrace any form of risk that comes with growing. And that's what differentiates those who are achievers from those who are dreamers. You know, like last year, there was a conference kind of I attended, and the man, I mean, he's a millionaire, like in USD. And he talked about how he doesn't set what they call smart goals. I mean, I have never heard that before. He said he calls audacious goals. And that's how he's able to shoot
Should,
up
yeah.
like so high. And he talked about how it's not comfortable, but for him, he sees that that has been working for him, not just trying to, just stretch myself a little bit. But of course, he didn't start like that. I'm sure he definitely started out, stretching a little, stretching it till he saw that there's no boundary anywhere.
Yes.
The
Yes.
boundary is in your mind. Now
In
he
your
decides
mind.
what I'm going to do is set audacious goals and just keep going for it. So that's what differentiates those who keep dreaming from those
And
who are
achievements.
achievers.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And the point, like something just want to mention, a lot of times when you talk about risk, right, people think it's just about money.
Mm,
It's not just about money. It's not just
mm,
about like making an investment mistake. No.
yeah.
When we talk about risk, it's actually you living. I'm going to use a profession for example. It's actually you shifting from healthcare to IT. Okay, that's
Mhm.
another risk. Moving to a new
Exactly.
career path is a risk. You
Mhm.
going out of the comfort zone is a risk. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you even stepping out to say, you know what, I want this change is a
Mm,
risk. So it's
yes.
more than be monetary value. So when we say risk, okay, it
Mhm.
comes with being willing to change and shifting from one thing to another. All right,
Yes. Yes.
embracing change,
Mhm.
embracing anything discomforting. All right,
Mhm. Yeah.
because like she said, taking those audacious goals require that you have the mindset of a success or
Yes.
someone who wants to really succeed. Right,
Yes.
when you
Yes.
have that mindset, you take that audacious goal.
Yeah.
Audacious goal might be just to pick a book and read. Okay,
Hmm.
audacious
Mhm.
goal might just be waking up in a certain time in the morning to have
Mhm.
time to do your quiet time, to speak into your day, to prep for your day.
Yeah.
These are practical steps to achieve those things. So
Mm.
risk, when we say risk, all right, it's not about you carving out a million and want to invest in something. No,
Exactly.
investing in your own self
Your
as well is a
yes.
risk that we are telling you that you should be willing to
To
take.
take.
All right,
Yes.
investing
Because
in
it's going to take
relationship.
you doing what you've not done before.
Exactly, to
Going to
achieve
take
those
a
things,
lot. Yes, exactly.
to
Yeah.
achieve what you want. So do not ever look at risk as, oh, it has to be monetary. No,
No.
investing in your own self.
Yeah.
What do you want to achieve? Go pick a book about it and read.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the answer you need is embedded in this, or even in the scriptures.
Exactly.
Spend time,
Yeah.
studying them and reading and being that person. Everything in life requires value. Even as
Yeah.
moms, you are bringing in something valuable to your kids. In your
Yes.
relationship with your spouse, you have to be valuable. If
Mm-hmm.
not, looking down on you is very easy.
Mm-hmm.
So, what
Yeah.
is that thing? When they bring up a discussion, you need to, there's some people I go to if I want to make a certain decision. All right. There's
Mm-hmm.
some people I go to, but like everyone has a value they bring to the table.
Yeah.
Be valuable. That's what we're saying. All
Yeah.
right. That person that people will come for something. It might be as good as being a shoulder for someone to lean on. That means you have the coaching skills. Okay. It
Yeah.
might be as knowing how to do investment goals and plans. You're good there. It might be as good as trying to tell people, like, being that motivational speaker.
Yeah.
You are placing value. So find something you are good in, even in the skills, handwork, that's value as well. So
Yeah.
find something you are good in, invest in yourself, and watch the success happen for you.
Yeah. You know, I was even going to add to the kind of risk you mentioned. Do you know that even being vulnerable to somebody is a risk?
Yes,
If
yes,
you're kind of very private person, you don't like
yeah,
and all of that, it takes risk and boldness to do that, right?
yeah,
And you're definitely gonna get value. You're gonna grow, especially when you're talking to the right kind of person and you
yeah.
know what that person's gonna do. So that's also a way to grow. But I'm just trying to buttress the fact that you said there are different kinds and different levels of risk, and that too is a
And I
risk.
love you mentioning that because even to trust people is a
Hmm.
risk.
It is a risk.
In fact, marriage is a risk because you don't know
Oh,
where you're going to get in there. You get
exactly.
it? It's more
Yeah.
like, okay, you date for 1 year and the next thing your entire life is with somebody. But
Yeah.
it's risk, and you are willing to, relationships are risk as well.
Yeah.
Because you don't know the friends you keep. Oh, how the next thing, because if you don't know, you don't experience the betrayal. If you don't go, you don't
Exactly.
experience the heartfeel. So all
Exactly.
those things that we're talking about is just to buttress the point about risks not being just about monetary value, but
Yes.
being willing, all right, being
Yeah.
willing to experience life,
Mm-hmm.
because without you trying to take that step, you will
Mm-hmm.
not experience, like, you won't even know how good or sweet or pleasant or unpleasant that
Yes.
thing is until
Yeah.
you are in it. So
Yeah.
this week, be willing to meet that person,
Mm,
take those audacious steps, talk
mm,
to that higher and whatever mighty you think you cannot talk to.
yeah.
Ask questions,
Mm,
okay? Ask
yeah.
questions. As long as your desire this second half of the year is to get to a certain point in your life,
Yeah.
don't hold back. Go
Yeah.
for it.
Go
Okay,
for
go for
it.
it.
Go for it. Go for it. Like, go for your gold. Thank you so much for that. So let me just talk about this last part, right? You know, when you were speaking, I actually remembered one of the chapters where we talked about the fact that you grow in different areas, maybe like your spirit, your soul, your body, right? Like those
Yeah.
are the different aspects. So taking risk is in all capacities, in all levels of these things, relationally and even within you. So I'm talking here that the more you invest in yourself through personal growth, skill enhancement, and in self improvement, the more value you can bring to your relationship or
Mhm.
to anything else that you're doing. So, for me, I have my own example, and I'm sure you have your tons of examples too, right? I would never speak in a gathering. I would never speak in a public setting, right? I don't know how I got here, but I'm here now.
That's the risk you're willing to take.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think at some point I had to be pushed, kind of, right? Like being brought to the spotlight in situations, and I'm like, why did you pick me? That kind of thing. But
Yeah.
eventually I saw that nothing was really holding me back. I was the one holding
Good.
myself back because the mind
Exactly.
was the one that was holding me back. So
Yeah.
in life, there is no limit. That's why we call it potential, right? God has made us like infinite. The same way He says that He set eternity in our hearts. That's the same way that we have like there's no boundaries anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The only
Mm-hmm.
limit is the one you see, and it is because your mind has created it, right? So
Yeah.
let's find ways to remove those boundaries, remove those mindsets, remove those limits, and we'll just see that we'll keep soaring and keep flying. So start slowly, because that's what I did. I started slowly, accepting opportunities to, speak, to lead, maybe when it's time to, even as much as leading in a prayer, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it takes courage. You know what I mean? So I started to open up myself a little by little, and eventually I'm here today.
I just like to mention this. That is saying discomfort is the key to personal growth.
Mm,
And I'm gonna share a little bit. When
mm,
I started my business journey, when I realized, oh, I have to be online, I wanted to
mm.
take off and run. And the race for me is not even about me. I was more like about what other people will say.
Right.
What are gonna be the opinion?
Ah,
What do I post something, someone has opinion. Like I was just about, oh, this, that, what I gonna say now, I'm banana. The
yeah.
very day I sat down to know that, girl, is your voice you have. Speak.
Yes.
Everything in life has its own opinion, including the dog.
Yes.
A child you give birth to today have her own opinion. I'm hungry. I want to cool and cry and
Yes.
for food. So
Yes.
I realized that our limitations always are the ones we create for ourselves.
Yes.
So what is that thing that you call discomfort? Make it a stepping ground to actually launch into your desired goal.
Yeah.
Because most times those things that you call discomfort are your stepping stones to your success. And
Exactly.
until you kick it away from the side
Hmm.
and roll with what God has given you, you
Yeah.
are not going to see the promised land. I tell you
Yes.
that.
Yes. Yes.
Even when Jesus was driving the disciples, he drive beyond what they are comfortable doing. That
Yeah.
is to tell you that he wants us to stretch ourselves beyond our limits
Yeah.
to be
Yes.
able to test the fruits thereof. And
Yeah.
until you're willing to get discomfort with any naysayers who will say what opinion and
Mm,
how are they, you are not
mm.
going to shine in your spotlight. All right.
Yes.
So if
Yes.
you really want to be the best version of yourself, trust me, whether you are your own authentic success or not, they're gonna say. So which
Yeah.
one do you
Just
choose?
choose. Yes.
Okay,
It's
so
left to you to
just
choose.
do it, do
Yes.
it, and
Honestly,
do it.
yeah. Oh my God,
Okay.
this is so deep, right? Let me just say what came to mind again. When you talked about the fact that you're relating to Jesus, then I remember that I had to tell myself this, that if I'm to fulfill my purpose, it's not about what people think anymore. It's
Yeah.
about what God thinks. Like He sent me.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
why would I hold back, right? I need to
Mm-hmm.
do what I need to do. So if you reason it from that perspective, that you have a higher purpose, a higher calling to fulfill, then you must make that choice. Now, let me just read this last paragraph. It says, ultimately, the journey to success is about making choices and decisions. So it's not just about choosing something. You have to be firm in your decision that I'm going for this, right? So you have to choose to embrace the risk. You have to decide to prepare thoroughly, right? And then
Yeah.
seize the opportunities as they come, because that's where you begin to shine in your spotlight. Until that, you're not shining yet. Until you get out of your comfort zone, you are not shining yet.
Oh dear, thank you so much for your time. And I'm gonna just read this last paragraph, just more like talk to consider, okay?
Yeah.
Success will always come from pushing past your own familiar limits, all right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Beyond what you believe is possible.
Yeah.
I do not believe that 3 years down the line, I will
Hmm.
ever look back and say, I make money without calling somebody, like without going and clocking and out. Like, I never saw that way as a way of making money,
Right.
honestly,
Right.
because I've been in the bubble of the norms, okay?
Mm.
You push past your belief, you push past the limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Embracing growth involves resilience,
Mm.
adaptability. I
Mm.
adapted online, my sister, my brother, so it's time for
Yeah.
you to adapt. And
Yeah.
courage to approach the unknown with curiosity.
Hmm.
Trust me. And that is why the Bible says that the kingdom of God is like unto the children. Curiosity is what is going to take us to get to heaven. Because by the
Mm.
time we're digging deep and asking questions and wanting to know more and going for it, we're not going
Mm.
to go anywhere. And that's
Yeah.
the childlike mind. And you want
Mm.
to leave that childlike mind. It's the remaining part of 2025. So
Yeah.
at the day and at the year is over, you will look back and say, wow, you didn't have to take arm and a leg. You only took my
Mm.
mindset, you
Yeah.
know,
To shift.
to
Yeah.
achieve that, so, and this is what we come to bring you. So if you've been following us for the past 14, 15 weeks now, you know the book is on Amazon already,
Yeah.
okay? And if you
Hmm.
have further question, reach out. If
Yeah.
you're also on Audible, I think he's on Audible, right?
Yes, it's an audible.
Okay, so for those of you that like to listen in your cars and all that, like me, so you want to grab the Audible, for
Yeah.
yourself, all right,
Yeah.
and ask
Yeah.
question if you need to. And we can't wait to bring you guys here to know and share your learning and what you've learned so far from the book.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Until next week, when we come again, before then, you have an assignment to do. Take notes of the areas you need to grow and make sure
Mhm.
you write that down and work your way towards making a choice and a conscious decision to make it work for yourself. So, have a blessed and amazing week. We'll see you next week. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.